Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and Spotify to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, and Invisired. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 395 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I am your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Maraya Brown. And if you want to understand how to let food be thy medicine and your medicine be thy food, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I am over the moon excited to have Maraya Brown on with me today. She is a functional medicine practitioner, which I'm really excited about, and she does a lot of work with women and libido and helps create healthy families. Really excited to have you on the show today. Let's just start out by the opener of the big why. Why do we do what we do here at Chiro Hustle? Well, we do protect freedom of speech. I think that is so valuable, and it's, as they say in the little quotations, more necessary now than ever to protect freedom of speech. And I think what we do that. We hold space for people and allow them to tell their truth. We also protect the sacred trust. If you guys want to know what that is, go do a quick search for BJ Palmer's Sacred Trust, and you'll know a whole lot more about chiropractic at that point. And we support subluxation-based chiropractic and innate intelligence and universal intelligence. And what that means is that when someone gets adjusted, it connects the physical to the spiritual. And with that being said, welcome to the show.
Hey, nice to be here.
Yeah, episode 395. It took us this long to get here.
I'm happy to be here. I know it's a perfect number for many reasons.
Mm-hmm. So off camera, we were talking about your knowledge of chiropractic, and I was really impressed. You're like, you know quite a bit about different techniques, and you said you've been under care with a chiropractor. So why don't you share with our audience a little bit about that, and then we'll talk about your professional career.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've had chiropractic care for decades, really. It started when I was experiencing back pain, lived in LA, and I had a couple of nasty car accidents and vertebral fractures, and found chiropractic for support in that way. And over the years, I was saying I've received what I consider more traditional chiropractic care, as well as Pedibond method and network chiropractic. And it's just striking what a wide range of modalities are used. Anything from an adjustment being this to a big snap, crackle, pop. And I've had tremendous, I could tell so many stories with pubic symphysis separation. And I even had a coccydynia anal adjustment with Dr. Heller, who's one of the top experts in coccydynia here in Ashland, after I think that was either my second or third birth. Anyway, a wide variety of experience with chiro, and it's all been awesome.
So the coccyx, huh?
Yeah, my coccyx. Oh man, I couldn't sit down for more than 5-10 minutes for a good 6 months. I went through 2 rounds of pelvic floor PT, and they could not get it to adjust. And finally, Dr. Mark Heller here in Ashland, Oregon, he studied with, I guess, one of the top coccydynia specialists out of France, and it's become one of his specialties. And so he was able to offer me some relief.
That's pretty cool. I think that every chiropractor has their own technique, and everybody comes to a chiropractor for a different cause. Like sometimes people don't feel good. Sometimes they got in the car crash, like you said. Sometimes they're, they want to have an easier birth. Most people don't know that when a woman gets adjusted during her pregnancy, that she has a quicker labor time.
Mm,
And I think that information alone, just me sharing that on this podcast with you today, there's going to be somebody that is in their pregnancy that is going to say, oh, wow, that makes labors go quicker. I want that.
right. Yeah. And with network chiropractic, for the last maybe 4 months, as an entire family, we've been going every week. So I have 3 young children. They're 9, 8, and 4. And it's that time that we set aside every week to go in, and it's quiet and it's peaceful and it feels like it's more of an energetic shift, not necessarily actual subluxation. And it's something that we do together. And I see it as nervous system, unwinding. And so, I'm a nurse practitioner by training. I'm a midwife. I taught at the Chinese Medicine College on the Big Island, teaching the Chinese medicine students the Western medicine approach. I went to Yale for my traditional training. I've also studied with mountain midwives in West Africa and Central America and Hawaii. And I just feel like um, there's value in a multidisciplinary approach and continuing to explore outside of traditional realms. And I believe food is medicine and mindset matters, and we get to continue to be on that quest to put the puzzle together. So
Mhm.
some of us have a 100-piece puzzle and some of us have a 5,000-piece puzzle.
Well, one of the things I want to impress upon people is that we're more alike than we are different.
Mhm.
And multidisciplinary, you said. I think the more that you have access to people that are healthcare professionals that don't cut it out, drug it out, or burn it out, you have a better chance of restoring health.
Yeah.
And so many times the Western culture believes in the cut, drug, burn method, and it doesn't necessarily make people healthy, and it creates
Absolutely.
consumers. And I think with functional medicine, I've come to realize is that there's a strategy to get people through a sequence of care that they don't become a consumer of the idea of healthcare. They get relief and they get a chance to go to the next chapter of their life, and they're not, you know, almost addicted to the system. And
Yep.
I was talking to another friend on my drive yesterday coming home from Denver, and I was like, look, man, chiropractors do amazing stuff. They help people restore life back to their systems, like you said, the nervous system.
Mhm.
And it's a strategy that when people use it regularly, like you and your family, like you said, it unwinds the nervous system.
Mm.
And I think a lot of times people don't realize is that what they're eating, they're drinking, they're thinking, their emotional resonance, their physical resonance, it all goes into the nervous system. And there's no other people out there that are qualified to basically untangle the nervous system through care as the chiropractors can. And I know that a lot of times the sexual organs that you talk about libido, um, those things can be dysfunctional if there's subluxations and misalignments in the spine, which has an impact on the organ system, which has an impact on the immune system, which has an impact on the nervous system. So
Absolutely.
there's this huge connection with spinal health and being able to conceive, or man being able to be productive. And I
Mhm.
think that there's a lot of things that we don't know, but I love what you're talking about with midwives, because so many times chiropractors best referral sources are midwives,
Mm. Yep.
because there's mamas out there that are going through their pregnancy that didn't know that a chiropractor can give them some relief.
Right.
So
Well, and I imagine even breech pain, I mean, the sciatic pain, there's so many possibilities there. And the other thing that I think of is the nervous system is foundational safety. My work is with hormones with women and also libido. And for a woman's body to adequately produce hormones, I always talk about either stress or bless. If our body is in a stress response, i.e., whether it's real or imagined, thinks that it's being chased by a lion, it goes into fight, flight, or freeze, parasympathetic nervous system, right? In that scenario, if I'm running and I've got 60 seconds to either be eaten or survive, the body's not worrying about whether or not I'm going to ovulate or have a great orgasm or feel really happy and a sense of belonging, right? It's choosing stress. And it will always choose stress over bless. As we help unwind that nervous system, help for me, I work with women, help women feel foundationally safe and help them care for their nervous system and care for their adrenals. Now that bless piece gets to get turned on. And when we're in the bless mode, we have clarity of thought, our immune system gets turned on, our digestion gets turned on, and our hormone production gets turned on. So then we can start the conversation around diet and lifestyle and supplementation from a functional medicine lens so that we're ovulating and we're not having horrible PMS and our libido's back up and rocking and we're not so dang irritable and all the things that can come. We're not struggling with insomnia because our body actually feels safe enough to focus on those blessed pieces of quality of life.
Well, what you're talking about is restorative.
Yeah.
And so many people are drifting and sedating when it comes to what to do to feel better.
Yep.
And they think that because they dole it out or numb it out or they abuse themselves in a certain way, that it's actually going to make their life a little bit better.
Yeah, I think, to people credit, we live in a kind of crazy time in the world with a lot of moving parts. And I think there is an aspect of some who almost prefer to be numbed from the world. I mean, I say, no, thank you. I want to dig in. But the reality is, I think mainstream providers, you go into your provider and you say, hey, my check engine light's on. Here's my laundry list of symptoms. And, it's like you taking your Toyota into the Toyota dealership and somebody's got a hammer, hammers out the check engine lights. Like, there you go, check engine lights off without even looking under the hood. And I say, if we're going to go to restorative or functional care or actually looking under the hood, let's figure out why are these symptoms, i.e. the check engine light, coming on in the first place, and get to foundational, your word is that I'm hearing is restorative, get to foundational cause so that we turn the engine light off in what I think is a more appropriate way without the side effects of the cutting and drugging and sedating and kind of numbing out from life, and instead really engage in life for me so that I can help women feel turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves.
I love that message. So let's turn back to you a little bit. What are you doing for your own personal health? I know you said you do see a chiropractor with you and your family, but what else? What other things are you doing to stay on top of your health?
Yeah, all sorts of things. I mean, I practice daily gratitude. I definitely go to my breath. I am time blocking my schedule as a CEO so I can streamline my efficiency and also ensure that I'm in quality self-care. I love to hike and do yoga. Quality time with my family is a big deal. We always ensure that a couple meals a day we sit down and have quality time and conversation around a meal. My relationship and my marriage is a big part of my health. And so we connect, we make love, we share appreciation for one another, we dig in when things feel intense. We don't own televisions in our home. I think that's part of my health.
Amen.
I drink adaptogen elixirs every day, and I do my best to get every color in every day, and I ensure that I have personalized, really quality supplementation that's added into my body on a regular basis. I move my body, I strengthen my body. I put on lip gloss. I mean, like all the things.
I love all of this, but the one thing that I've never heard before is adaptogen elixirs. Can you explain a little bit more about what that is?
Oh, I would love to. It's something that I advocate for in a huge way. And actually, it's a free giveaway for your community. I have free adaptogen elixir recipes that anybody can download. So adaptogens all come from the plant, mushroom, or botanical kingdom. They help the body better adapt to stress. So some examples that maybe you've heard of might be holy basil, dark chocolate, ashwagandha, reiki, cordyceps, shatavari. There's a lot of them out there. And so for me, instead of having caffeine in the morning, I start my day with an adaptogen elixir, and it's what I advocate the women that I work with doing. And so the elixir has three main components. Number one, you have the adaptogen. Number 2, you have a protein source, which is generally collagen or a vegan protein powder. And then number 3, you have a fat source, maybe tea oil, coconut oil, CBD oil, avocado oil, some oil, and then add hot water, some nut milk, sweetener to taste. I usually use stevia drops. And then for some, maybe we add in some nettles or some peppermint, to make it medicinal, but it also tastes really yummy. So it's like my hot latte in the morning, but it's caffeine free and actually feeding my adrenals, feeding my body's ability to adapt to stress while also helping with blood sugar maintenance because we've got in that protein and fat that's hopefully then sustains blood sugars to be more stabilized over time. And for women particularly for women in that perimenopause and menopause chapter, so say age 35 to 60, as our ovaries start to slow down the production of hormones, it's generally the adrenals that get the knock at the door. And if our adrenals are exhausted because we're overworking, we're serving our hearts out, caring for everybody else, saving table scraps for ourselves, not eating quality food, not caring for our adrenals, then our experience of perimenopause and menopause specifically can be quite horrific. So if instead I can capture a woman and really give her body foundational adrenal care, one of those things would be adaptogen elixirs. It makes a world of difference for sleep, irritability, weight regulation, mood, um, decreasing stress level, just really kind of taking the edge off and once again helping the body better adapt to stress.
Well, I guess this is a later question in the sequencing, but I think it's fitting here.
Yeah.
What are some miracle stories you've seen with people that were totally like deficient with like all aspects of nutrition, and
Yeah.
you started working with somebody? Have you seen some people's lives turn around by just
Oh
doing
my
these
God.
things?
So many. I can think of so many. It's spectacular. I mean, especially now, I've been working with women for 22 years and I finished my nurse practitioner training in 2007. So there's lots of stories, but particularly once I started the deep dive into functional medicine, and I think of it as such a foundational, more comprehensive peak. And now I work all online. So my clientele's all over the world, and I work with highly ambitious women that are really hungry to feel vibrant. And so I can just oh, let me to the last year. In the last year, I can think of a woman who lost 80 pounds. She is looking in the mirror, loving herself for the first time ever, has transformed how she shows up as a wife and a mom. I can think of a woman who had been told she would be on medication for the rest of her life. That included prescription hormones as well as pain medicine. And she had bloating that was exceptional, constipation like you can't imagine, and social anxiety. At one point had been paralyzed in a wheelchair.
Wow.
And now she's off all meds, pain-free, no longer on hormones. She's had her first orgasm ever.
Wow.
And she's now no longer bloated, back to normal size pants, feeling vibrant and energetic in her body. And, it's spectacular to watch women transform. And I can think of so many stories.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, and Invisired. Let's hustle. Well, I'm just blown away that, people are so, they don't have a connection with people that can help them. And it's really cool that people are finding access to you.
Yeah.
Let's talk marketing a little bit. How are people finding access to you? Like, how are you finding people to help? I know you said that you're moved away from brick and mortar. As Les Brown says, it's moving from brick and mortar and we moved to click and order. But
Yeah.
But you've obviously figured out how to thrive in this marketing space and to grow from
Yeah.
brick and mortar to this virtual space.
Yeah.
How has that gone for you? And maybe some tips you could give to people that are considering doing that.
Sure, sure. So it started with a Facebook group that kind of grew virally. And then in that space, I was interviewing experts and I found all these experts that were working online with online courses. And I thought, I wonder if I could do that. And so I created my first course and, initially just invited people that were in my inner circle and invited them to invite their friends. And slowly it grew. I have a website and branding and a marketing agency, but one of the main ways that people find me and lean into my work is usually about once every 2 months. I do a free online workshop. So they're usually somewhere between 3 to 5 days, and it's totally free, just high value. I just did one last month. There were 550 women enrolled. They come to the space and they just get to receive. And so I do a deep dive into energy, hormones, libido, connection, trauma release, mindset, and they get their own personalized roadmap. And in that, they receive their own personalized concierge support. There's a workbook that goes along, and that way I can offer my services to anyone and everyone for free. And then in the midst of the workshop, I do open the door for women to inquire about enrolling in my program, and there's an actual application process. And we go through the applications, and then I interview them. And my space is intimate. I cap it at 40 women currently, and it's really for very ambitious women. And so if they're offered a spot and they come in, then they do a real deep dive with me, but they're investing heavily with time, energy, commitment, and money for a year-long deep dive. And so how people find me, I mean, obviously there's social media, right?
Mhm.
YouTube and LinkedIn and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, but that's all pretty new for me. Mainly I've initially built through Facebook and word of mouth. And then I'm part of a couple different masterminds. And so inevitably I work with very ambitious women. And so I'm meeting them in the mastermind space. And I think did that answer your question?
Yeah, well, what you were saying there is people usually give three things as their time, their talent, or their treasure, and it sounds like your coursework requires all of that. So it's like personal tithing. Like you have to give to yourself to be a part of something to make a better directional change in your life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so many times people just want to give their treasure to feel better, and they want to just give away a little bit of money or income in order to make a solution for themselves. And they don't obviously know how to be an active participant with their time. So I would think it's really cool that you create strategy around people's lifestyles to have them be an active participant with their treasure and their time. And then you produce with your talent to them. And then they become the greatest testimony in the world because you
Yes.
took these ambitious women, gave their lives back to them and gave them their their beauty back, if you will,
Mhm.
and their drive back, and making them more functional in society and for themselves. And
Yeah.
I mean, I was just talking to another friend of mine on. I have a lot of conversations all the time about what it's like when people get their life restored to them.
Mhm.
And one of the things that happens is people actually start to feel good about themselves. And when somebody gets their self-esteem back, like you said, their career takes off, their
Yeah.
home life takes off, they feel sexy again.
Yeah.
They build a bond with their partner better than ever before.
Yeah.
And that all starts with investing in oneself. And it's really cool that you figured out channels to find people that are your ideal clients that want to work with you. And you can offer them the solutions that you have, and they actually follow through with it, and they get the gift of life again. And
Yeah.
that's to show up as their best self, feeling healthy again.
Yes, absolutely. And, a couple key things. I love what you're saying. I always say one without their health has but one dream. Someone with their health has many. And so I get to gift them dreaming again.
Hmm.
And for women in particular, it's kind of circles back to earlier in this conversation with foundational safety. For women to achieve the goals that they're wanting to achieve as mothers, as as wives, as community members, as business owners, whatever it may be, I believe that part of our power is really embodying the ability to receive. And so that requires that we feel safe to receive. And so we get to do that work to build our confidence and dig into our safety and dig into how we look ourselves in the mirror and how we talk to ourselves and allow ourselves to be in a feminine space and a receiving space. And then abundance comes flowing in, and that's abundance of belonging and love and money and health and weight loss and energy and better sleep and more orgasms and all the stuff. But once again, get to just go get a prescription or just change what we eat or just take a new supplement. I think that we get to tackle it from all directions.
I think it's empowering.
Absolutely.
And when you give somebody their power back,
Mm-hmm.
now they're a generator for their whole system around them. And, I always tell people, when somebody starts getting chiropractic care, they become better at being in their family. They become better at being in their, chosen profession. They
Yeah.
become better at everything that they wanted to do that was becoming diminished because they weren't feeling good.
Yep. You take away the emotional labor.
Yeah. And the other thing is chiropractic gives you years to your life and life to your years. And I love that you said a man or woman that has their health has a million dreams, and a man or woman that doesn't have their health has one.
Yep.
And that's to get healthy.
Yep.
And I love the fact that you facilitate space for people. You can rewire them with their thought processes. You can rewire them with their behaviors. You can rewire them with their outcomes.
Yes. Yeah. To reset the trajectory of the rest of their lives.
Yes. So
that, again, it's not sitting in front of the TV and numbing out with sedation and prescriptions. It's people that are actually hungry to really take hold of their life.
Well, for clarity, I haven't owned a television in a decade. And I think that that's the part that's like giving me like one up on the rest of the world is I don't focus on that. I focus on relationships. I focus on building a story brand. I focus on, seeing the world and being a participant in it. And I'm not trying to make anybody that chooses that lifestyle feel less than, but I just chose differently.
But to do it deliberately, I say anything that goes in and out of your mouth, your eyes, and your heart either serves you or it doesn't. And so if it's coming in through your eyes, or coming in through your heart, based on what you're watching, is it serving you or not? And if you know that it's not serving you, allow it to be a deliberate decision. And if you're choosing to turn it off or at least not have it constantly playing in the background, allow that to be a deliberate decision to allow what comes in and out to really serve you.
Yeah. Well, I know we're almost at the edge of our time together, but I want to go lightning round with you.
Sure.
Let's chop it up fast.
Got it.
Where's the healthcare profession going in the next decade?
I'm going to go in from a hopeful and optimistic perspective for a minute. My hope is that people will have a wake-up call and take more ownership of their well-being and to start asking different questions and asking multiple people those different questions to find the answer that they're looking for until they feel really heard and seen. And we're reminded that our food is our medicine and our medicine is our food, and mindset matters and energy works. And so I hope for freedom of speech. I hope for freedom of choices and relinquishing of any dogma or requirements. That's my optimistic, hopeful view of the future.
I love health freedom too.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned that. Who are some of your heroes? Who inspired you to be where you are today?
My grandparents are the first ones that come to mind. They are consistent and loving and make their family first. And I always felt safe and loved by them. And then in regard to, heroes out in the world, I love Marilyn Monroe. I love what she represents. And, actually where we met, James, down in Puerto Rico, I had never leaned into Gary Vee's work, But I left that talk that he gave. I was like, man, if I could go sit and have coffee with someone, I guess I don't drink coffee, have a drink around a campfire, I would love to just sit and have a conversation with him and pick his brain a little bit. But he's not necessarily a hero of mine, but I definitely leaned into wanting to just pick his brain.
Yeah, I love your responses of the endearment for family,
Mhm.
and attention's the new currency, and I think you've done a really good job at that of building the attention engine around you. And you're doing Gary Vee's work before you knew that Gary Vee was somebody that was interesting to you.
Yeah, thanks.
Um, and I guess the last thing I'm curious to know is if people wanted to work with you,
Mhm.
where can we send them to? And do you have any links that we can share with our audience today so we can get them under your supervision?
Yes, absolutely. So the place to start is just to attend one of my workshops. So I'll make sure James has the link, but it's marayabrown.com/the vibrant life. Come on in. It's free. You'll have hand holding support, a clear roadmap that's personalized. It's absolutely live. And so we get to have a real time banter. And that's where to lean in. Right now, the marketing agency and I are currently rebuilding the new sales page with a couple different offers, just considering kind of where I'm projecting and where I think the marketplace is going, to just diversify options for women that want to lean into my space. And so I'll make sure you have that link. And then I have a podcast too. It's called the Women's Vibrancy Code. So you're welcome to pop over there. Obviously, if you're listening to that, you're a podcast listener, and I'll have to bring James in and interview him in my space as well. But come on over to the Women's Vibrancy Code podcast.
Well, Maraya, thank you so much for being so open and
Mhm.
helpful and accessible, because I know that the world needs people that have your skills. And obviously, that's why you're thriving and not just simply surviving in your space. And I think it's really powerful, the team that you've built around you with the products that you offer to people, and they're outcome specific. And I love that it's not just invest in me and see what's possible. I think it's invest in me because you're investing in yourself, and we'll both see what the outcome is.
Yeah.
And that's really, really fundamental and powerful. And back to the one word is restorative. It restores people back to what life that they have as a dream and what they have as their fantasy. And you help bring that full circle to being able to be attained in the reality.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, you are episode 395 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Like I always close out, I tell people this: you are just one story away. Keep hustling. Thank you so much for being my guest today. And I want you to have an awesome rest of your evening out there in beautiful Ashland, Oregon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Talk soon, and looking forward to those elixir, those adaptogen elixir recipes.
I'll give you the link. When you go to marayabrown.com, you can, I think it's called energy boosting elixirs. You can click there and grab the recipes.
Cool. I'm excited for that. Well, thank you
Awesome.
so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Bye for now.
Ciao.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.